To achieve a goal, conventional wisdom tells us to strive for it. But philosopher Alan Watts observed a ruthless cognitive trap, the backwards law. Actively pursuing a positive state actually reinforces the feeling that you lack it. If you try to grip dry sand, it slips through your fingers. Strain your muscles to force relaxation, and you only create more tension. The psychological mechanism works exactly the same way. The intense effort you spend trying to acquire something acts as proof to your own brain that you do not already possess it. The friction of our own relentless striving becomes the primary obstacle. By fighting so hard to reach our deepest goals, we push them further away. We often treat our lives like a construction site. We assume that applying more effort, more force, and stricter blueprints will produce the specific results we want. When we apply this top-down force to complex human systems, the connections snap. The pressure leads to burnout, hollow arguments, and rigid control. The ancient Taoist concept of Wu Wei offers an alternative approach: effortless action. Wu Wei is not passivity. It is a bottom-up blueprint for allowing systems to function naturally. You remove the friction so the network can reorganize itself. True influence requires abandoning the brute force of the builder and adopting the yielding patience of a gardener. Apply this to our own identity. When we strive for unblemished psychological perfection, we guarantee that we will feel defective the moment a flaw appears. The Japanese art of kintsugi provides a physical framework for a resilient identity. The concept of being broken is not an objective material fact. It is a subjective judgment imposed by systems that demand strict conformity. Kintsugi changes the way we define ourselves. We do not hide the fracture. We fill it with gold to mark our survival and our agency. Wholeness is the radical decision to integrate our history. When we stop striving for perfection, our flaws become our armor. This dynamic also governs how we interact with others. If you try to force someone to change their mind through direct argumentation, you immediately trigger their nervous system's defenses. Instead of top-down persuasion, we can use an ecological alternative called the State Modulation Drop Probe, or SDP framework. This ecology relies on non-coercive tools: probes, which are questions designed to discover hidden structures, and mirrors, which reflect reality to validate the person. This works because of how our biology handles stress. Direct force triggers a defensive, high-friction state, but validation improves vagal tone, switching the nervous system from defense to safety. Once the body feels safe, the shame load lightens. You aren't architecting the other person. You are modulating their state so they can reorganize their own mind. Zoom out to the macro scale of creative and professional work. In the age of advanced AI, we still cling to the ego-driven urge to manually manufacture reality from scratch. But the division of labor has shifted. Machines now seamlessly supply the rotational force, the unglamorous technical labor of stabilization, execution, and logic. What remains for the human is directional torque. This is our sovereign choice of exactly where and why to point our attention. This capacity is driven by our urge to play. It is an irreducible spark that curates meaning out of a world that machines have already fully rendered. Creative work has moved beyond the labor of manufacturing reality. It has become an act of disciplined attention, recognizing the truths that are already there. Across the self, the other, and the world, a unified definition of mastery emerges. We must transition from acting as manufacturers of outcomes to curators of conditions. Complexity operates on a specific logic. Emergence, whether biological growth or institutional change, cannot be engineered or commanded from the top down. Profound growth can only be invited by brewing the correct conditions and then stepping out of the way. There is a modern metaphor that perfectly captures this philosophy: the curling sweeper on the ice. The sweeper never actually touches or forces the stone. They simply warm the ice, clearing the path to make the environment a fraction more willing, and trust the stone to find its own line. To achieve profound influence without coercion, and to master the architecture of emergence, you must be the sweeper, not the stone.